uh, coming at you with a new video. I just want to get a little draft hype build. Just watched the NFL draft, so I want to get some hype for our draft coming up next week on the weekend. So I'm just going to go through the tier list, kind of give a little overarching name on the tier list, and then just talk about kind of every mon within the tier and kind of give my thoughts on how good mons are. All right, hopefully I can give you some ideas. Hopefully I don't give you the right ideas because I do have a little bit of a plan of what I want to do. So without further ado, let's get going. So first off, we're looking at our tier 200 mons, and I'm going to name this the Mad Threats tier. Mad Threats. These things are dangerous. These things will win you a game, probably win you about 5 games maybe by themselves. If your opponent does not have answers, you might just win the game. That's how good these Pokemon are, and I suggest almost every single game that you play against these mons, or at least in your draft, you have answers for every single one. Aegislash priority, it has setup, it can be defensive, it can be offensive. Dragapult should have been the MVP. Okay, pretty disappointed in you trolls out there that didn't vote for it. Melmetal with or without double iron bash, it still does the same thing. Mad bulk, lots of damage, and decent coverage with its punching moves. Necrozma, I am most worried about this mon. I'm not gonna lie, I do not want it to fall into the wrong hands because this mon has the potential to sweep you every single game with weakness policy, and its ability lowering the damage it takes from super effective moves. Terrakion, you're gonna have to have a wall for it. It hits way too hard to ignore. And then Zeraora, probably the best cleaner in the game, with the ability to sweep with bulk up or just its variety of sets it can run, and it can volt switch anytime it wants to, as well as hitting ground types, which is premier for electric types. If you can't hit ground types and you're an electric type, you're tier 80 or below. That's just how it works in our league, at least, for sure. So here we go. We got our mad threats. Tier 180, I'm going to call our core or franchise mons. Okay, kind of like in the NFL, you need a franchise quarterback. This is the franchise quarterback tier. Okay, superstar tier is 200, but you need a franchise quarterback. Any one of these mons can be a pivot, or by pivot, a pivotal mon on your team, something to build around, something that can bring you a victory. Okay, these mons are the best in their respective roles, whether it be breaking with Dracovish, pivoting around and walling stuff like Corviknight. Clef can do some offensive things as well. Being offensive threat, especially with Sand, breaking things with Nasty Plot, Gengar. Hydreigon does the same thing. Has a little bit better defenses though. Jirachi can do many things. It can just Choice Scarf and win games. Then you have Keldeo, I think probably the weakest 180, but still a very good mon. Very, very good mon. Como scares me a lot, very similarly to Necrozma. I think you can use Como in clever ways and just win games outright, which I don't like that when that happens. I don't like when a mon comes out and I know that it can just win. The other mon that scares me the most in this tier is going to be Kyurem. Looking at its stats, it can be special, it can be physical. It has a little bit of a bad typing if you go with defense, but I mean, it's still a dragon type, and offensively, ice is incredible typing. Also, it has a move that is broken called Freeze Dry. Very, very good, especially with all the ground water types in the meta. So this is going to be your franchise quarterbacks here at 180. Tier 160. Okay, tier 160. We're going to call this the mercenary tier. All right, or the BL Knights. If you're a big Pokemon fan, this is the tier in which they are not quite something that you really want to build your team around. I mean, yes, Ferrothorn could be something that you build your team around as far as a defensive Amon or Toxapex, and T-Tar with Sand, but really they just do something exceptionally. Whether it be Conk being bulky, having priority, and just bashing things, Darm doing the same thing, Ferrothorn just walling, Halucha can just sweep immediately, Mamoswine just putting a ton of pressure on a team. They all do something very, very exceptionally well. Renequest is pretty. You can run some regenerator sets, or you can run just trick room offense. Weavile, fast, revenge killer. All these mons in this tier. You hire them, you put them on the team, they make the team better immediately. You don't necessarily need to build around them that much. Obviously, you can make them better by building around them, but they're just going to make your team better. I would say they're just a little bit expensive at times. I mean, it depends who you want to get, right? It just depends who you want to get. One that we're missing here is going to be Haxorus. Haxorus will be in the 160 range. The mascot pick, I've never picked it before, so maybe this is the year. This is the year. I don't know. All right, let's go to tier 140. Tier 140, besides being the fire type tier, looking at Darms, Cinderace, and Arcanine, right away, you just see that there's a ton of fire types. But tier 140, I'm gonna go with the not quite elite tier. Okay, this is your Robins. To everything up here is gonna be your Batmans. Okay, everything at the top, to 160 and up is gonna be your Batmans. These are gonna Tier 140 is your Robins. They are exceptional, but they're not going to be the number one biggest threat in the game. Because even if you don't draft anything in the 160, 180, 200 range, your opponent will. And that will be the biggest threat in the game. Sorry. Yes, Diggersby is a huge threat. But all these mons have some weaknesses or ways to play around them. This is also a major breaking tier. They break things hard, okay? And so what I mean by that is Arcanine, Cinderace, Arcanine a little bit lesser, but Arcanine gets recovery and can be a little more versatile. But Crawdot, Dracozolt, even Grimm's got 120 base attack power. Gyarados, 125. Hatterene is like 136 or something like that. Haxorus is not in this tier. Hippowdon. So if you're going to be a defensive mon in this tier, you have recovery. Okay, all three have recovery. All three just sit in there and take hits and then recover. Okay, Arcanine can do that as well at the very top. Okay, otherwise you just hit things super hard. Mimikyu's probably the outlier in which it really can set up and sweep. But again, Obstagoon, you get your guts off and you get burnt. Now you start bashing things. Pelipper, another exception where that just gets its value from setting up. Primarina, again, blasting things. Wish, Protect, Sylveon, again, you got Roost, Togekiss, Toxicity, breaking things. So you either have one of two things going on. You're a bulky mon that can recover, or you break in this tier. Rotom Heat, Rotom Wash, both of which have incredible typings with Levitate. Incredible typings with Levitate. Without Levitate, not as good, right? So I would dub these two mons plus Weezing as they have incredible abilities plus good stats that make their typing well worth it, and their value well worth it for the tier 140. All right, so we got our Robin tier, and then our 120 tier. We're gonna be again, they are better than our basic mons. Okay, tier 100, I'm gonna call that our basic bitches over here. They're good mons. They don't do anything exceptional. Whereas tier 120 is gonna bring you some uniqueness. They can do things that other mons can't, but they have some weaknesses. Barraskewda dies in one hit to literally everything in the game, it feels like. Bisharp, very frail, especially any fighting type move just kills it outright. But again, Barraskewda, third fastest mon basically in the game. I mean, it's basically Dragapult is faster than it, and Zeraora is faster than it. That's it. Obviously, I know that we have some other mons that are faster, like a Selgor. But I mean, as far as relevant threats go, Barraskewda is one of the fastest mons in the game. That's why it's 120. Bisharp can just win with an SD if your opponent's not ready for it. Blastoise shell smashes and can win. Celebi is very unique in which it can do a ton of different things, but it's ×4 weak to bug. Okay, Cobalion, I think it's a really good mon. It's just not great. Its attack stats are not very good. I think it's just better on paper. Yes, it has SD. It's got Volt Switch. It's got some cool stuff, but it's just not exceptional. It doesn't break as hard as the next tier. Ditto, unique mon. Dugtrio, unique mon. Both of which do something unique for the team and cause a lot of prep. Okay, Duraludon, Steel Dragon, unique typing. Okay, Durant is probably a 140 mon 80% of the time. That's why it's only a 120 mon. Okay, Gudra, no recovery, but just as bulky as some of these nasty mons over here. It gets a little more coverage. It definitely is more in the middle. Same with Incineroar. Okay, you can set up terrain with Indeedee and hit fairly hard. Inteleon is special Barraskewda. Okay, and it's got a few little. It's got other moves too, but basically special Barracuda, Jellicent. This one is interesting. It's shut down by taunt, and that's why it's probably not at 140. So if your opponent is clever and it preps well, Jellicent can not do much, but it also walls a ton of mons. Lucario, I would say, is one of the best mons in this tier, being able to do many different things and break on the physical, break on the special side, and set up and sweep with Swords Dance, Extreme Speed, or something like that. Ninetales, setting up your Aurora Veil, okay, setting up your Hail, Poltergeist, just go ahead and sweep the game immediately. Big threat, but still doesn't have great defense. It's lacking in a way. Rillaboom, I think Rillaboom potentially has that breaking power that the 140s have, but grass typing is just not very good. And it doesn't, as good as its stats are, it still doesn't have as good of stats as Tapu Bulu. Okay, so that's why it's going to be in the 120 range. Silvally, super versatile, jack of all trades, but doesn't do anything exceptional, right? Doesn't do anything exceptional that would put it into this next box. Snorlax, I think Snorlax is a sleeper. I would watch out for this thing. I think this thing's a nasty threat on the right team. I'd pair it probably with a ghost type or something, so you can get it in for free on a Shadow Ball. It's super bulky, especially defensive. It can be your ice resist. It can be your fire resist with its ability, Thick Fat. I love that mon. Some people say that I'm a Gen 1/Gen 2 homer. I definitely am, but big fan of Snorlax. I would look out for that thing. I think that's a major threat. All right, moving on to our basic bitches at tier 100. They really are. They're good mons, but they don't do anything crazy. They don't jump out to you. At least you don't look at them and you say, "Oh, I can't stop that mon." You see that it has value in potentially a lot of scenarios, but it doesn't just win the game on paper immediately. Okay, your opponent's always going to have answers. It's up to the rest of the team to be paired around these guys, or for them to help support the rest of the team so that they can set up to be exceptional and very good mons. Okay, so Alcremie, dangerous mon. It gets recovery. Okay, it gets acid armor, I believe, and it gets calm mind. It's basically I forgot the fairy type from Gen 6. Florges. It's basically Florges. Gen 8 Florges is what it is. Araquanid, arguably the best web setter, especially if you're looking for a bulkier one. Araquanid's very good. And then with its ability, it just can do a lot. It can break with the choice band. It sets up webs. Pretty awesome web setter. It went really high in the draft last time. I expect it to go high in the draft again. Beware, great breaker, fighting normal, great coverage. Braviary. Braviary is always good for Bravery is always good for bird spam and is a very good choice scarfer. Hits really hard. Bronzong, incredible defensive mon. It was my vote for defensive mon of the year last year. Magnus used it exceptionally. Really fun mon. It just walls a ton of teams. It just doesn't get recovery. So it just can't consistently. You got to wear this thing down. Now, with leftovers, it is pretty good, but it just can't stay in the game forever. Chandelure, one of the biggest threats in this tier. Arguably could move up, but because it only has 80 speed and its typing is pretty frail, or where you need to waste an item on heavy duty boots, it's going to be in this tier because it has definitely ways where you can lower its effectiveness. Cloyster, again, another mon where especially defensive, it has none, like literally none. It just dies, even to resisted special moves. Cloyster just goes down. But in the right situation, it just wins the game, right? So it's really good at one thing, but has a glaring weakness. Cofagurgus can set up Trick Room. Caparaja should be down a tier, and it is on our voting. So we just need to fix that. So I'll comment on that in a little bit here. Corsola, good Pokemon, but it gets taunted really easily. Decidueye, pretty average all around, but it has SD, Priority, Defog. I mean, it's got a lot of utility here. Again, these Mons aren't going to just win games by themselves unless they have an extremely good matchup. Delmi's good spinner, hits hard, great banded user, great AV user. Espeon gives you decent hard-hitting potential, especially with the Life Orb, but also Magic Bounce. The only thing I don't like about Espeon, it doesn't really get good recovery, and it dies in one hit a lot of the time. So if your opponent attacks, instead of setting up Stealth Rocks and you guess wrong, it's definitely a high skill cap Pokemon. I like it a lot, but it's just scary because you're always making a risky play by using that Mon. Flygon, honestly, I think it's the best. I was going to say tier 3, but tier 100 on the list. It does everything really well. It can D-Dance. It can Choice Scarf. It can Choice Band. It's got a great speed tier. It's got great typing. I like this Mon a lot. I expect it to go pretty early, especially for the tier 100s. Galvantula, personally, my favorite Weber. Being 108 speed is nice. You still tie with all the 3 Musketeer Mons, but it sets up webs quickly, and it has a 91% accurate Thunder. Thunder has a 30% chance to paralyze. That's big time, you guys. Really good Mon. Used it in the past. Gastrodon, I think, is a Tish high. I think it's a good Mon. I think it can wall a lot of things. Gardevoir is a good Scarfer. Gigalith, one of my personal favorite Mons as well. Very, very bulky. Heliolisk, if you're an electric type in this tier, you need to be able to deal with ground types. Heliolisk can. Heliolisk is probably the most versatile weather Pokemon, being able to fit on any type of weather. So I think that Mon is incredible on a team. Linoon can just win the game, but that's all it does. Hitmonlee can just win the game, but that's all it does. Okay, that's a lie. It can also break really well. If you're a fighting type in this tier, you need to be able to put immediate pressure on the other team. Machamp is basically Conkeldurr, but not quite as good and not as good of priority. Doesn't have Mach Punch, but it still has. I personally, my favorite set is to run like an Assault Vest, No Guard, Dynamic Punch. I know I'm losing power, but I love confusing people. It's just so annoying. Noivern, another top tier Mantine, obviously especially defensive, shuts things down. I'm going to move a little bit faster now, but and just mention some highlights. This is also the tier of webs. We already saw Galvantula, we already saw Araquanid, we have Rabombi, possibly, another argument for the best Weber. Pretty offensive, can sweep with Quiver Dance, but just sets up webs with the Focus Sash. Roserade, I wish had Hidden Power. That'd be really, really nice. Pangoro, again, fighting type, immediate pressure. Piloswine, one of my favorite Mons ever, having priority ice, but being super defensive with Eviolite. Salazzle can poison anything. Rotom, pretty fast Mom. Seismitoad doesn't get recovery, or else it'd be higher. Surf Farfetch'd, I think, is super underrated. Basically, with Scrappy, there are no switch-ins for close combat, especially banded close combat. Under webs, this thing is a menace. Serena gets knockoff again. Again, web setter. Again, web setter down here. Serena gets knockoff, so it's not walled by steel types. It can at least touch steel types knockoff. It's still pretty much walled by excuse me. It's what I'm thinking of is Deblade. Deblade walls this thing. Not anymore because it gets knockoff. Umbreon, just a fat wall. Good Wish Passer. Same with Vaporeon. Venusaur, great for your Sun team. Very, very difficult Mon to deal with. Great speed tier by Virizion. I think this is a steal. In tier 100, I think you can do a lot with this Mon. I like that a lot. Great speed tier again down here with Whimsicott. All right, let's clear that out. We're going on. I'm going to try to go a little bit faster. Let's go with tier 80. I call this the hyper tier. If you're in tier 80, you have stats that are insane, but the rest of your kit, we'll say, isn't very good. So a Selgor, incredibly fast, right? 145 speed, but that's about it. I mean, it's super fast. You can put specs on it. It can be respectable damage, but everything else is average about a Selgor. And by average, I mean, I'm not saying average like middle of the road. Like, it's good, but it's just That's all it does. It's super fast, super defensive, has great stabs. It's a bulky fairy with wish. Okay, this is what I'm talking about with the hyper tier. Okay, it's got hyper defense, super high, pretty fast, but everything else is mediocre. 120 speed. Charizard, I would say, is more versatile mon. It just quite doesn't reach this level. I would argue it maybe does. Doublade, I think totally is better on paper, but again, 150 defense, 110 attack, great stats, but it's super slow. It's pretty predictable. A lot of these mons are very, very predictable. Drapion, 110 defense, 95 speed. All its other stats, not great. Phalanx, stats suck, but it's got the move that boosts all of its. It's got no retreat, which boosts all of its stats. Okay, Flapple, it's got with Hustle, its attack is really, really good with 110. Gallade, high attack. That's it. Hitmontop, pretty versatile, good rapid spinner. Jolteon, again, 130 speed. Okay, it just does things that is, I like. It's funny that all these mons have one thing they do really, really well. Kingler, here's your breaker, but it's not super fast. You need webs if you want it to be actually good. Mudsdale, great at one thing. It sets up rocks. This is also the ground type tier, by the way. We'll see in a minute. But Mudsdale, Rhydon, Rhyperior, Runerigus, and then I believe Steelix is down at the bottom. Ninetales, it's good at setting sun, decent special attacker. Doesn't do much outside of that. You can set webs. This is pretty versatile mon as well, but it's just not great. Like its typing's not great. It doesn't hit very hard, but it's versatile, right? Great Scarfer, that's about it. Great Pivot Mon, great speed tier. Walls, things that aren't grass types or specially offensive. Walls, physical things, not pretty good typing though, and Intimidate is also nice. I realize a lot of these mons can definitely have more niche things that they can do, but they just don't reach a level of effectiveness or consistency. They are niche in the way that they need the matchup to be in their favor. These typically are mons that you aren't going to bring when the matchup just doesn't work for them. Scrafty, Sigilyph, Sneasel, again, they all can be super effective in their roles. Revenge killing Sneasel, they just doesn't have as much damage. Scrafty, its speed isn't very great to utilize Dragon Dance. Otherwise, good Intimidator, but major weakness to Fairy. Steelix, probably one of the best mons in this tier as well, setting up rocks, especially in this meta. But again, you got to use it effectively and work the team around it for these mons to work. Toxicroak, Ufesdent is walled by steel types. Toxicroak, good mon, but it just is it's not fast enough to be a major threat, and immediately isn't a major threat unless you throw a Life Orb on it. Okay, it needs some type of boost in its damage. Torkoal, good at setting the sun. So with that, we're going to move on to these last little tiers. Shouldn't take too long, but tier 60, I'm calling the tier 60 going to be the niche tier. You really got to find the right matchup or thing that you're missing on your team. Okay, whether that be a certain type of typing or hazard setting that you need. Certain mons can provide this. So Obama Snow can potentially provide you hail if you need it. That is the only reason I would get Obama Snow. I am not a big fan of it. Barbarical can provide you a sweeping option. Okay, Centiskorch can be a decent breaker with its fire and coil. Coil's pretty decent set as well. It's actually specialty defensive. It's pretty good. Crustle can provide spikes and stealth rock for you. Drampa can be a hard hitting special attacker and also be have a dragon typing for you. Dreadnought, decent, but unless it's in rain, it's not really that big of a threat because its speed isn't that great. Driftbloom, I think, is a gem in here. I think Dusclops potentially can be really good as well. Both of which can just be annoying. They're super annoying. Driftbloom can win you a game, though. I think you need to find the right set. You really need to prep well with Driftbloom, but Driftbloom is a hidden gem here. SQ, it's a sweeper, but it's not very good. Okay, it's super niche. Escavalier, if you have any fire types, it just dies. But otherwise, it fits a good defensive steel typing. It fits that role for you. Frostmoth can sweep, but doesn't necessarily provide any defensive meat. Well, I guess especially defensive with ice scales is pretty decent. Garbodor gives you toxic spikes. Golisopod gives you priority. Gothitelle gives you a psychic type that's slow and kind of bulky. Gourgeist can give you Trick Room and Grass option. Okay, I think here is where you go with typings. Again, I don't even want to tell this one, but Lantern is incredible. I've used it before on a team where I didn't have a ground type, which meant I had to bring Volt Absorb Lantern almost every single game. It was really annoying, but I actually really liked the Mon. Pretty cool versatile Mon. I mean, it provides you an electric type. It provides you a electric immunity. It just checks boxes. Maybe I should call this tier the check boxes tier. Ludicolo can check some boxes for you, or it's a niche sweeper. Okay, Mr. Rhyme, terrible typing defensively and not very fast, which means it's not the greatest offensive mon. It's definitely got uses, but it's super niche. Marshana, good trick room setter. Pincushion, really weird mon because it's super slow, but it sets terrain and it gives you a lot of hazards. And so this might be the combination, you guys, right here. Pincushion, Alola, and Raichu. That could be. I'm just looking at that for the first time. That looks really good. Boosting, allowing Alola and Raichu to have double the speed. I know Ben's looking at this right now because he's a big Alola and Raichu guy. But again, Raichu, it's solid mon. It's decent speed, but not great stats necessarily. Offensively, Rotom can do a lot of things. Pretty decent speed. Again, niche, no recovery, doesn't actually doesn't set sand consistently. Glare's really nice in Sandaconda though. Sock hits hard, has sturdy, not too bad. Niche with sun. Stunfix just weird. Actually, really bulky. Null's bulky. Vanillix, another gem in this 60 range. Scarf Vanillix is a monster. 100% blizzards do a ton of damage. So sorry for whoever was looking at that. Maybe I need to apologize to myself because I think that mon is incredible. Wheezing, super niche defensive mon. Love it. It was on my championship team. Great mon. Xatu, probably a better on paper mon. But it has immunity to ground. It's a flying type. It's psychic. It's got magic bounce. It checks boxes for your team, just like everything in that tier. Lastly, we got tier 40. We're gonna call this you really have to convince yourself that these mons are not as bad as they are, because they really aren't that good. Yes, they can be at their best. They can be niche or have decent stats in certain areas, but they have glaring weaknesses. That just make it very, very difficult to use them, especially consistently. So Arctovish is slow. Its typing's not incredible. Like Butterfree, not great stats. Claydol has potential. It can do a lot of things. It checks a lot of boxes, but it's not incredible at anything. Its offensive stats are not great. Colossal is ×4 weak to ground and water. Two common typings. Okay, ×4, and it's not fast at all, obviously. Now it gives you a lot. It checks a lot of boxes. It gets you a lot of spikes, rocks, rapid spin, but it's just got glaring weaknesses. Corsola has like 20 defense, 120 special defense, but like 20 defense. It dies to like everything physically. Cramorant, not super fast, not incredible typing. Lowland Dug Trio just looks horrible. Drubble, we don't allow passing of stats, so Drubble is immediately not very good. But it's okay. I mean, it's pretty defensive. Dusknoir, similar to its buddy who's one above, but it's just limited in a lot of ways. Only having base like 50 health is tough. Now, granted, its defenses are good. It can check a lot of boxes for you, but it's not going to be the mon that's just going to go out and win games for you. Eldegoss, good rapid spinner, has grass and bug coverage. That's literally it. Go look up its moves. It has grass and it has bug. And the only bug move it has is like um, pollen puff. That's it. Now it does get rapid spin. So yes, that is a normal move, but otherwise it just gets completely walled by the grass types. Pharaoh Seed, just typing is incredible. It's just not a fully evolved Pokemon. Okay, Flareon has good typing, terrible stats. It doesn't have stats where it really wants to have them or makes sense to. I mean, decent special wall. That's it. Golurk is not that bulky. Hits hard but is slow. So it's like these mons are just awkward. They don't know where their role is, and they're difficult to use. They can be good, like Haunter, 95 speed, really nice. 115 special attack, really nice. But you have to run Life Orb or Specs in order to really do damage because it needs to kill everything it's in front of, or else it just dies. Okay. Lapras this is a great pickup if you need a water absorb. Leopard I think is a great pickup with Prankster. I think Prankster Thunderwave. I think just all kinds of different things with Leopard is really cool, and decent speed. Dark typing's nice. Malamar is cool. Again, its stats aren't great, so it needs to get superpower going. All right. But it's times 4 weak to bug. Manectric is 105 speed, not bad. It gets flamethrower for coverage, but that's like it. It doesn't really have a way to beat ground types. Let's keep on going. We got rapid spin, really good speed. Tinted lens now with Noctowl, but otherwise it's still Noctowl. It still gets hurt. I guess it gets Hurricane. And Hyper Voice. Berserker hits super hard, but again, it's awkward because it's really slow. It does get U-turn, which is kind of nice, but it's just so dang slow, and its defenses are not that good. I mean, it's only got like 100 defense on a Steel type, and Steel, although Steel can be a really good defensive typing, I mean, Ground and Fighting are still pretty common coverage moves. So this mon doesn't want to take. Raichu, I think, is a Steel in this tier. 110 speed, Surf to deal with ground types, grass not. It gets Nasty Plot, I believe. Pikachu's good, instant power with its Light Ball. I think this is a good mon too. Rapidash Galar, just the coverage that it gets, and 105 speed's nice. So there's some cool speed tiers here in tier 40 that you can check your box for. Rotom Frost is only as good as its Blizzard accuracy, so 70% of the time it's pretty good. But Levitate's always nice to have in your team. Skunk Tank, great typing. It's just the worst dark poison in the game. Since our only other option is Drapion. Drapion's just better. Stonejourner. But, it can work. Stonejourner dies to any water type attack, especially if it's special. It has 20 or it has some ridiculous amount of special defense. Like, it literally has none. But it's, I believe, until Terrakion entered this game, was the fastest rock type we had in our Gen 8 draft. Swoobat's interesting. Being able to get +4 in one turn is pretty scary if it can survive a turn, which is difficult for it. Togamaru is pretty good. Scarfer can have some success defensively, but again, ×4 weak to ground. Togetic, super niche, shuts down certain dragons, but you really got to get creative and play well with it, or else it just is setup fodder. Let's see, Trevenant, you can Trick Room, Turtonator. I hate this mon with a passion. I got swept by it in season 2 by Cole. It was season 1. Bull Baby. I think I haven't explored Bull Baby. This might be good since I'm apparently the Eviolite guy, but I actually like that mon. All right, last little bit here. The only mon that you should care about in this tier is Trapinch, because it can trap things and it has 100 power, 100 attack. So whether you have Focus Sash or Choice Band First Impression, there's some potential there, especially to annoy people. Let's see, Thievul has Stakeout now, so if it attacks a mon that's switching out, it does like insane damage, like crazy damage. It does get Nasty Plot as well, but these are like the worst stats I've ever seen. They're so bad. its stats are just terrible. Shiinotic's not terrible just because you get a fairy type out of the deal. Sliggoo can be okay. Shedinja's a meme. I'm sorry. Um, let's see what else. Oh, this is a water immunity, so that's kind of nice. Lunatone is like this tier. I named this tier the trash tier. Okay, because they're all trash. They're all bad. They're really bad. I mean, there's a tiny bit of coverage here. There's a tiny bit of coverage in Octillery. Glalie has base 85 stats all around. That's just not very good. It's just not good enough. Um, so it's just tough. Dottler is a really cool pickup, really good defensive mon. It still gets webs. Lacks a lot of the utility, no U-turn of its evolution. Let's see. Cherum's only good in doubles, if you can even say it's good in doubles. Beartick, I thought we were moving up, so that might be something we need to talk about. But Swift Swim is the only option I would see there. But it does hit really hard. It's just, again, awkward speed, like 50 speed, and you're not defensive. It's hard to live at all, or even just to manage using the Pokemon like that. All right, guys, just to recap, we got our trash tier. We got let me just redo that. Trash tier. We got convincing yourself that the mon's better than it actually is. This is our niche tier. This is our hyper stat tier. This is our basic ass Pokemon. This is our really good at one thing but have obvious weaknesses. So I think I said not quite elite. This is our Robin tier. They just aren't quite Batmans. They aren't quite gonna just they could have a really good matchup and just win you a game, but usually they're not going to. Usually these are gonna be your Batmans. Tier 160 is gonna be your Mercenaries. They're just good. Just plop them on your team. They're decent. You can use them. You don't necessarily need to build around them. They're just good at what they do. Tier 180 is your franchise quarterback or your franchise Pokemon, something core on your team that you're going to build around. And tier 200 is going to be your nasty demonic mons. Okay, they're devils, and they should all go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the draft, or pretty close. Unless you're insane, which I'll probably pass up these mons. But there's definitely a few of them where they're on my draft. Like, if they're there, I have to take them, or else I just won't be able to sleep at night. So with that being said, good luck in the draft, people. I'm super excited for this, and have a good one. Peace.